So you're not losing weight, even though you're in a calorie deficit. What's going on? This is going to sting because you're not actually in a calorie deficit. If you were, you would be losing weight. That's the reality, which might not be what you wanted to hear, but it might be what you need. These are the 7 most common tracking errors, potentially keeping you out of a calorie deficit. If you're not losing weight, even though you're in a calorie deficit, you're hitting the wrong targets. Every single calorie calculator on the internet, even the best ones, even my one, only provide you with an estimate that should be used as a starting point. It's just a ballpark figure. It does not take into account your diet history, your thyroid function, your metabolic or hormonal profile. So rather than taking those targets as gospel, you need to use them as a starting point, then adjust them as needed. If you're not losing weight, even though you're eating in a calorie deficit, according to the online calorie calculator that you used, you probably use the wrong activity levels. If you told the calorie calculator you're lightly active, even though you drive to work, you sit down at an office all day, and you come home to lie on the couch, you're probably not lightly active, probably much closer to sedentary. And there's nothing wrong with that. Most of us are sedentary in 2023. I would be too if I didn't lift and run. Just keep in mind that the more honest you are with these calculators, the better the recommendations will actually be. And after all, you're the best targets that will have the best chance of working for you. And then, maybe walk more too, because you'll live longer. If you're in a calorie deficit but you're not losing weight, you might be not tracking accurately. 1 teaspoon of peanut butter is meant to weigh approximately 5 measly grams. But you could probably get 50 grams or more onto a teaspoon if you really tried. What's the difference? Well, 30 versus 300 calories. And that could be the difference between eating at a deficit, eating at maintenance, or even eating at a surplus for some people. To track as accurately as possible, you need to track weight, not volume, or cups, or serves, or pieces. And be honest, track accountably, not conveniently. And while we're talking about peanut butter, you should probably track your cooking oils as well. Just a splash here and there doesn't seem like much, but 1 tablespoon of olive oil has over 100 calories. Forget to track that across a few meals per day, and there's your deficit gone. If you're tracking your calorie deficit using MyFitnessPal, but you're not losing weight, it might be because you're using the wrong data. MyFitnessPal is amazing because anyone can upload information. So most foods you will ever come across have an entry in the app. But MyFitnessPal is terrible for the exact same reason, because anyone can upload information, meaning the accuracy of that data could be extremely low. There's nothing stopping me right now from creating a new entry, calling it a Big Mac, and saying that it has only 40 calories. Someone might find that entry, use it, and be none the wiser. So for best accuracy, try and use the right databases. In Australia, that's the NUTTAB database. In the States, that's the USDA. To make life easier, for the most part, just go with the entry with the green tick next to it. These entries have been verified to be accurate, and failing that, make sure to have a good look at the entries that you are using to make sure that there are no glaring errors in them. A big mistake people make, which stops them from losing weight, even though they're in a calorie deficit, is not tracking on the weekends. Your weekends make up 28.5% of your week. So if you aren't tracking anything you eat on those 2 days, you're not tracking almost a third of your entire diet. It is entirely possible to undo 5 days in a deficit within 2 days over the weekend, and then end up at maintenance for the week, or even send yourself into a calorie surplus. Because, let's be honest, it's rare that you're still eating diet foods on the weekend when you're not tracking. Don't let weekends derail your progress. You can easily set up your diet in a way to have a little less food during the week so that you've got more calories to play with on the weekend, and then still end up in a calorie deficit across the week. So it's called calorie cycling. But you still need to track what you eat if you want to maintain enough control over your diet in the long run to see ongoing progress. If you're scanning the barcodes and tracking your calories, but you're still not losing weight, it might be because you're eating too many packaged foods. Now, no, I'm not going to tell you that you have to eat only organic, cold-pressed, chakra-aligned unicorn egg, but packaged foods are completely fine. However, they might have more calories than you actually realize. So, according to FDA regulations, food labels are allowed a 20% variance. So that 200-calorie chocolate bar might be 160 calories, or it might be 240 calories. Now, this problem can be fixed in 2 ways. If you consistently eat the same packaged foods, it doesn't really matter if they're off by a certain amount, because they should be more or less the same amount each time you eat them. So whether the chocolate bar was 240 calories or 200 or 160, when you reduce your intake down to half a chocolate bar, you're still cutting a bunch of calories regardless. But yet, prepare more of your own food. The more you prepare your own foods, the more control you have over the nutritional content and how many calories you're consuming. Personally, I still eat plenty of ready-made meals and packaged foods myself. When it comes to being in a fat loss phase, I tend to be a little bit more mindful and try and prepare my own foods a little more often, because I know too that I'll probably get way more bang for my calorie buck when I do that. If you're tracking your calories but you're still not losing weight, you might be falling for this mistake. You're tracking after the fact. How many grams of cereal did you have for breakfast 2 days ago? Or how many mils of milk did you put in your coffee today? Studies show that even registered dietitians, whose job it is to understand the ins and the outs of nutrition, underreport their food intake by an average of 223 calories when tracking after the fact. Track it before you eat it, and you'll get the benefit of hindsight before you need it. AKA, you won't be accepting the consequences of your food decisions without actually knowing what they are. If you are making any of these common mistakes, you don't need a new diet plan or to slash your calories further. You just need to rebuild your tracking habits for success. What if you're a pro food tracking human being and you're still not losing weight, even in a calorie deficit? Well, I'll cover more of that in the next video you see. Catch you then.